Hey everybody, it's Suzanne White with Hearth and Haven Real Estate with the Harvey Callis Real Estate Brokerage. Welcome to 2022. I hope you had a wonderful holiday season and that you're super excited like I am about 2022's arrival. So we're going to talk today a little bit about where is the market at and where do we see it going for the year 2022. So let's start with a little bit of information. Number one, are we going to see a great big bubble burst? Is the market going to crash? Is everything going to come tumbling down? I'm going to tell you from everything that I've read, that I've seen, that I'm looking at with the numbers and the stats, that's simply not going to happen. There is not going to be a great big bubble burst happening in 2022. Why, you want to know? Let's have a look at some of the reasons for that. So we still have an incredibly low inventory. As of today, we have 120 listings in Prince Edward County, but only 52 of those are actually residential full-year homes. And of those 120, we have a number of them, I believe 12, that are already conditionally sold. So they're just going through the process, whether that's doing a home inspection or getting financing or whatever. So essentially sold. Not all of them go through all the way, but the vast majority of them do. We only had 7 listings come on this past week, and granted it was just New Year's, it's the brand new year, we've come through holiday season, but that is still a really low number for where we normally are come December. We would like to have somewhere in the neighborhood of 500 listings, so 52 is a tenth of where we would like to be. It's incredibly low, meaning that we only have inventory for a couple of weeks at best. We also still have really low mortgage rates. They've gone up a little bit since, this time last year or since the summer, just a smidge, but compared to, where they were a few years ago, they're still super, super low. So that is also keeping everybody really excited about buying, keeping the buyers right there, grabbing things as soon as they come on. So that's another reason that there's no reason for the bubble to burst and for prices to super drop. We still have lots of buyers. There are lots and lots of buyers out there. I have someone who was just interested today in putting an offer on something, and already there's 7 to 9 registered offers. I think 7 registered, 2 more coming in. So 9 on, just a small house is going to put it up out of her price range, unfortunately. So there's tons of interest, still lots of people out there that are looking and wanting to buy houses. Another reason is that people are buying, because of the low mortgage rates, people are buying investment properties. So this is not necessarily their primary residence that they're buying right now. Lots of people are buying things for rentals, summer homes, vacation properties, whatever. And what that means is normally, if I was going to sell my house, move, buy another house, then my house would come on the market. So it would kind of be a trade-off, right? I buy one, but now mine's on. But that's not happening with people who are buying second, third, fourth properties. They're buying one, they're not replacing it. So it's just another number coming off the market. Also, it's winter, and a lot of people have chosen to take their houses off the market completely. So we had 7 new listings come on, but we had 25 expireds, and we had more come off as, just people decided to take, they suspended them or whatever. So in total, we've had about 31 just come off the market in just this last week. Now, it was the end of the month, and most agents have their, properties due at the end of the month. But I think a lot of people are just like, it's winter, I'm not going to renew, which means even less inventory. This is the lowest inventory we've had. I looked back 5 years, but way long before that. This is the lowest we've had. I'm not sure if it's a record or not, but in a really, really long time. So there's just really not a lot out there, and it's really getting snapped up. We need to also consider the fact that we're still underbuilding. We have been underbuilding in Canada and mainly across the North America for the last 12 years. So with the number of new families that are created each year that need a house, that are looking to get into owning property, we just haven't had enough supply being created to meet that demand. So every year, there's a little less and a little less until we've ended up in this kind of crunch where we are right now. With COVID, building supplies are really hard to come by. So even if a contractor has a subdivision planned, they're ready to do. It's taking a lot longer for them to get, houses in the ground and ready for people to move into than what they had hoped. So it's going to be a long while until the supply of just materials catches up with the need. And then that whole process of, kind of getting more buildings happening to kind of meet that demand, it's going to be a few years. This is not going to be like overnight. It's all going to be fixed. There's going to be lots of houses out there. It's just simply not going to happen like that, unfortunately. The last thing to keep in mind is immigration. So we still, because of COVID, because of this new Omicron variant, we still have really low immigration rates across Canada. And that is going to switch. Hopefully this is the last variant. Hopefully in a few months we'll be over the final hurdle and seeing some kind of light at the end of the tunnel. But until we get there, and we don't know if that's the case, we're just all hopeful for it. But until we get there and immigration opens up, then there's going to be a flood of new people coming to Canada who are also going to be looking for housing and again increasing that demand. So supply and demand, we have very little supply, lots of demand, low interest rates, and therefore it's kind of that continued perfect storm for housing. It's not really a bubble, it's just where we are because of all of these circumstances. So when you think of an bubble, you think of inflated prices for sort of no real reason, and it can be popped when one or two small things changes. In order for this to change, we need a number of factors to change to reverse kind of where we're at right now. I just don't see that happening anytime in the near future. So the second thing we want to talk about is mortgage rates. Where are they headed? We had heard that there was going to be, 5 to 8 mortgage hikes over the upcoming year, and one was supposed to be coming kind of fairly soon into the new year. We believe at the moment that that's going to pause a little bit depending on what happens with Omicron. I don't know if you listened to Doug Ford's announcement today, but he was definitely making it sound like a giant tsunami of illness that's going to be sweeping across, the world, but Ontario, which again, I think is going to pause a lot of things. We've just shut down restaurants, schools have gone back to being virtual, so things are really tightening up. Numbers of people allowed in various locations is tightening. We're not in a full lockdown, but we're kind of in that quasi one, so that is definitely not going to be bolstering our economy, so I'm not sure that the government's going to feel comfortable raising interest rates really, really soon. Hopefully things will change, we'll get back to a bit of normal, and then the interest rates may come later in the year, but my thought is it's not going to be happening anytime in the near future, like in the next couple of months. I know this morning Ford was saying they're anticipating that the biggest number of people ill from this Omicron variant will happen kind of near the end of January because it's going to go very quickly, and then we will hopefully see it start to dwindle after that. But if we look at how long of a trajectory that is and then how long it might take afterwards, I think we're looking to the end of February until things get back to the numbers we're at now, which is already kind of scary bad numbers. So again, I think it's going to be a bit after that they may feel comfortable starting to have those interest rates creep up. I want you to keep in mind that for every 1% of an increase in the mortgage rate, so let's say it goes from 3.2 to 4.2, even though 4.2 is still not a bad number, that means that you have lost 10% of your buying power. So if you could have afforded a $500,000 house, now you can afford $50,000 less, so you can only afford a $450,000 house. So that's going to affect you as a buyer. It's going to affect you as a seller because now a chunk of people have just been taken out of the market that could have afforded your house with the lower interest rates, and now they can't anymore once they creep up a little bit. So the third thing to look at is just prices of houses. Are they going to, we've said they're not going to drop, it's not a bubble, but will they continue to increase? And I'm going to suggest yes. A month or so ago, they were saying 5 to 10% increase over 2022, but I'm really thinking they're going to continue to increase fairly dramatically for, again, these first few months until the economy gets going, until the building happens a little bit more than what it is now. So I think we're a ways out. I do think that they're going to continue to increase, not like they did over maybe the last 2 years, but at a fairly steady rate pushing well into 2022, and then maybe slow down a little bit beyond that. So if we look at average prices right here in Prince Edward County, just for the month of December, if we look at December 2019, the average price was $369,000 of a house. Now, that was a little bit of a drop for where it had been in previous months, but I just thought we'd do that snapshot of just December itself. If we look at December of 2020, they had jumped up to $604,000, just average price. This year, December, that just happened, they have jumped up to $799,000. So that's a big, two kind of really big increases in prices. I really hope they don't jump that way again in 2022. And I don't anticipate that, but they're going to continue going up. So all of you who bought a house last year and were like, oh my goodness, this is really high, the market's going to drop and I'm going to have paid too much. Now you're laughing because your house is worth way more than it was last year. I would suggest to you that if you're thinking of buying, the same thing's going to happen. Maybe not such a big jump, but it's still going to be worth more in a few months. And if the interest rates go up, your payments are going to be higher, so you're going to have less house overall. So is it a good time to buy or sell? I would say yes and yes. It's a good time to sell because we have such low inventory, we have lots of buyers, so you're going to get a great price for your house. Is it a good time to buy? Yes, it is, because even though there's not a lot out there to choose from, the value is what it is today. It's not that increased price that you're going to see come spring, and the mortgage rates are not that increased mortgage rate that, again, I believe we're going to see kind of mid to late spring happening. So your buying power is actually better now than what it might be in a few months. I want you to think too, as a seller, that the spring, I've heard a lot of people saying, I'm going to wait till the spring to put my house on. That seems to be the big time. If we get a glut, which would be actually kind of nice to help balance things out, but it means that your house is going to be worth a little bit less once there's a whole bunch of people out there. You do not need 20 buyers. You need one buyer who loves your house and is willing to pay that great price for it. So I would suggest to you, don't hold off putting your house up for sale, because I think you're going to get a great price today, just as much as you may later. And another thought, if you're thinking of selling and you're really worried about where am I going to go, right? There's not a lot out there. What if I don't find something? I'm going to suggest that you put in a condition that your house is being sold on the condition that you find suitable housing for yourself. I've had a couple of offers recently that's what the sellers are doing because they're nervous, and the buyers are so eager. They're like, yep, that's fine. And they've arranged different things. You may have one of those second-time buyers. It's like, I don't care really when I own it, as long as I own it at this price eventually in the next 2 months, 6 months. They could have a lot of flexibility. I have buyers who are currently have sold their house and they're renting. So they're renting, from someone who has quite a bit of flexibility, and they know they're going to find another renter right away because we also have so few rentals. So they're like, I can be really flexible, but when I move in. So buyers or sellers, there's a number of different ways that we can sort that out for you to make it really work for you, so that you can get your house sold, that you feel comfortable, that you feel safe doing it, that you're not going to be stranded and homeless at any point. I would love to talk to you further about any of these topics. We'll continue with our market updates as we move through the year, and lots of other videos too. So subscribe to my channel, put on that alert bell so that you get a little notification every time one comes up. I have a lot of great topics that I'm going to cover throughout 2022, and I'm super excited to have you join me in that. Have a great day, and we'll talk soon. Bye.